So if we want to grow our business, we need to have a good marketing systems. The larger your practice becomes, the more complex your marketing systems need to be, the more data and tracking you need to have. And so just realize like what got you here isn't necessarily going to get you.
Hello, and welcome to the Private Practice Owners Club podcast. I'm your host, Adam Robin, and today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, marketing. So I've got the guru of marketing. You guys have probably heard of him. Private Practice Promotions is the name of the company. Neil Trickett is the name of the CEO, founder, and owner. And today he's going to talk to us about how he helps clinics grow, hire, and make more profits through his program. Neil, how you doing today, man?
Good, Adam. Great to be on here. Great to be chatting with you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of yours. Um, because I don't know a whole lot about you, but I'm learning more about you. But what I'm really a fan of is just like what you've been able to accomplish, man. Like you've been a PT for how long now?
Oh, crap. We're going back some years since 1998. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So 1998. I mean, you were a practice owner for a while. You want to tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
Yeah, about 8 years. My wife and I owned a practice that we built up in near West Palm Beach, Florida. Built that to about almost $1 million practice, and then exited that in 2010.
Incredible. And that's not an easy thing. But not only that, you are crazy enough to be like, you know what? I'm going to build something even bigger, right? So now tell us about what you do.
Yeah, so during that time, I just saw the need there. There wasn't much help for us at that time. We kind of had to figure a lot of stuff out on our own, but there really wasn't much support in the marketing world for physical therapy rehabilitation clinics. And I'm like, hey, there's an opportunity to help a lot more clinics here and get the word out on what we do as a profession to the world, right? And a rising tide floats all ships. So if we can help clinics do better at marketing themselves, then the profession does better as a whole. So that was kind of our mission from the get-go. And over the last 14 years, we've just been really blessed to work with a whole variety of different practice owners, everybody from startups to our largest client is a 160 location practice in the Northeast. So it's really interesting to work with different types of clinics at different sizes because marketing needs change and they get more complex as they grow up. And we've been able to learn a lot through our own journey of business and marketing for practice promotions and help our clients out with that too. Obviously pivoting and innovating with all the changes in the world and how things happen there. But we're fortunate now we're at a size where we're, multi seven-figure agency. We've got 78 staff that work with us, all kinds of specialists that support our clients. And so that's been a journey for me too, as an entrepreneur, to learn how to scale myself and scale the company to provide that kind of level of service.
Yeah, and I know I want to get to like maybe the core of what you really do and some of the new features that are coming out with your company. But if it's okay, I want to pick your brain a little bit just about business in
Let's
general.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because what you've built is amazing. I'd love to just kind of hear, you know, if you kind of zoom out, and this is me maybe just asking a kind of a selfish question for myself. What are your, what do you feel like it really takes, or like what are your keys to success, if you will, to just to growing a business?
hmm Yeah. Learning. You got to keep learning. I'm always learning. And you don't have all the answers. You never will. I think that's one part of being an entrepreneur is you're happiest when you're going trying to figure something out. And I think what's looking back to what helps me be successful is really surrounding myself with key people, like
Mhm.
people that help me do things better, that I can learn from. So always leaning on coaches, consultants. I think the bigger that you get, the more people you work with, just to kind of help you in your journey. Uh, Having fantastic staff and learning the skills of attracting the right kind of people to work with you, and then also developing them as leaders, that helps take more off of your shoulders and the company can do more. So we're always in the process of developing our people constantly. trainings, and especially then in people who want to be in leadership, who want to be, directors or managers and lead others. You got to keep developing them. And that's the only way to scale your business, really. You can't do it all by yourself. And where I see a lot of clinic owners make mistakes is that they keep trying to own everything. They become the bottleneck in their business. And it happens at every level. So it's not just like, hey, once you get over being a startup, you have to wear all the hats. You got to start hiring some people, obviously. But then, even as you become a multi-provider clinic, a multi-location clinic, and if you go bigger, bigger and bigger from there, you still hit these kind of bottleneck points. And you realize that a lot of times it's you, and you need to like put the right department in, the right person in place to help you go to that next level. So that's some of the keys, I think, that have helped me grow our business to where it is today.
It's cool to hear you say that, because it's nothing that we haven't heard before, but it's like it's just more the getting really better at a lot better at the basics.
Yeah, it's fundamentals all the time. Yeah.
Fundamental. I tell owners all the time, we have this epiphany, especially on coaching calls, and we recognize that your lack of knowingness, the way that like to call it, is often the bottleneck. Like you just don't know enough. You're not studying enough, or your language was you're not learning enough. You haven't learned enough yet. I love whenever we get to debrief that with our clients, and it's like, hey, Adam, I got a big win. I spent some time over the weekend and I studied the vault, all that training you sent me, and I dove into my numbers, and like we created our dashboard, and like I'm super clear. And I'm like, let's bottle that up. Let's debrief that experience. Like, look what just happened. You decided to be the owner of that problem, learn the thing, and then look how empowered you are, and now you can take action.
Love it. Yeah.
Love that.
You have to, you also have the starting point is, being the person, right? So a lot of people don't even get out of this phase, right? So if you're starting up, you're a clinician, you're a biller, you're the owner, you're the, mopping the floors, you're it, right? So, but you hire some people, you have front desk billers, you have more therapists on board. Um, but you have to realize, like, where I see people get stuck is they have multiple providers and they're still treating full time, and they
Mhm.
haven't really assumed that beingness yet of being the CEO, right, or being the entrepreneur, and that you kind of evolve and change over time towards that, where you have to drive the vision of the company, you have to be learning, you have to be looking at what is happening within the organization so that you can get everybody together and work problem solve there. But you can't do that if you're in the trenches all the time, right? And so that really is, again, the back to the bottleneck philosophy, is that if that's the case and you're not being or assuming that beingness of being the CEO, you don't carve the time out for yourself. You make other things a priority.
Yeah. Yeah, the way the I like that word beingness. I like to use the word identity. It's like you identify as the owner. Like, I am an owner who happens to be a physical therapist or a speech therapist or whatever you are, right? Once that transition happens, then you become the person that needs to do the thing, right? And your priorities shift a little bit, right?
Yeah, yeah, you have to. Yeah.
I love how I don't know if you're a fan of Dan Martell. He wrote a book called Buy Back. Yeah. Yeah. I'm even wearing the blue shirt and the khakis today. So, he says something. He says, you build your people and they build the business. And that's what rung to me whenever you mentioned that people piece. I love how being a when you see that owner transition to not only the builder of the business, but the builder of the people. You see, and that's a kind of another level that they hit on that journey.
Absolutely. I say too, like I've made so many mistakes in hiring along the way, and just got to realize, like, that's okay, right? You're going to mess up. You're going to hire wrong people. And as long as you identify it, right? And then it's having the courage to move on. They're going to find something better that fits them, and you're going to find someone that fits your practice better too. So we all have it where we hold on to people way too long, and that affects the business. But yeah, in order to have the right people to build the systems, to build the, to build the practice, I find that every time we we go through changes in staff, we level up. Right? We actually find better people, and now you realize like, okay, the bar has been set a little bit higher here. There you go. Yeah. So it's okay. Just if you have that in your practice, if you've been through that, don't get beat up on it because it's part of business, and being able to fail is part of business, and being able to fail with people is part of business. Um, and you just learn from your mistakes, and then you find the next right person.
Love it. Have the courage is what I wrote down, everyone. Have the courage. Want to hit on this last bullet point before we jump into the marketing. Letting go. I wrote down letting go. I think you mentioned you're the bottleneck. You should be delegating. I don't remember exactly the terminology that we hold on to things a little too long, I think is what
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah. And that's a great phrase that you brought up, is let it go. Because I that's one of the things that I say too is, but we hear that a lot, right? In business trainings and things that we see, around business. And we hear that, okay, you got to delegate, you got to let it go in order to climb the business. And where I see errors happen is that we let it go, but without supervision. So I would
Oh,
say let it go with supervision, because, as the owner of the business, you should just have a great pulse on what's happening within the business, but have confidence and trust in your team to handle, little nuances and things like that. And they don't have to tell you every single little thing, but if they're really good about flowing up the information to you, you feel comfortable in knowing that things are being handled the way that they're being handled. But we just let, like, hey, I've got a great person here, they're just going to run it, and I don't need to know anything about it. And then all of a sudden they were having mistakes or errors, and then it becomes a problem. Yeah.
yeah. I've been fortunate enough to not run into that issue yet personally, but I did hire Nathan pretty early in my career, so I got lucky. But I do run into owners who I coach that have that issue. Like they've got that key player that they thought has been doing a good job, but then when they start working with us, they're like, "Oh yeah," we start pulling back the curtain, and recognizing like, "Wow, we're really
And
dropping
we
the
all need someone to report to, right? Like, so even your manager, director, your key person, they need somebody, right? That person is you as the owner of the business. And as the owner of business, you should have a coach or a consultant. That's your person to go to, right? Or other, mentors. So that's something like you always need someone to report to.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote down letting go with accountability, making sure you have that accountability, and then get quicker at recognizing when it's time to let go. You know what I mean? You don't have to wait until your head's about to pop off before you let it go. Like get a little play offense. You know what I mean? Instead of playing defense, like get out in front of it so you can be offensive with your growth and not reactive. Let's talk about marketing, man. Marketing to grow strategy is your key strategy, and the bullet points are grow, hire, and profit. I'd love to dive into those, and can you want to just tell us about what that is, and maybe you can kind of take it away from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So last year I spent some time really consolidating what we've seen clinics do well, and what we've done for clinics basically over the last 10 years, right? And what do the top 10% of clinics really do well, right? That sets them apart, that allows them to have massive growth. Because we work with some clinics that are just doing fantastic despite whatever the economy is throwing at them. And there's a reason for that. And so what I did was I really consolidated that knowledge there, that research, into a strategy. And so what we did with that is really compartmentalized in three key areas that move the levers in your business. First off is grow, right? So you got to market to grow your business. How do you use marketing to grow your practice? And that means, how are you attracting new patients? How are you leveraging your customer lists, right? How are you making sure that you get the most bang for your buck through all of that? And then market to hire. So we know that we're in a very competitive market right now for talent.
Hmm.
And we have shortages in therapists. So we have shortages in admin staff too in some areas. And so how you position and brand yourself in marketing just like we do for new patients, we need to apply that to how we're attracting top talent to come work for us. And then lastly is profit here. So we can push a lot of patients into our practice, but is it going to be patients that we're going to get paid well for?
Mm.
And we got to know our worth in the practice so that we know our worth, we know what we need to be making in order to have the profitability there, in order to achieve further goals, compensate our staff well, retain the top talent that we're attracting. And hey, you busted your butt for years to be a clinic owner, so you should be compensated very well for that, and making sure that you have the right profit ratios for yourself. So how do you leverage marketing to attract higher paying patients? How do you make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck with good tracking and capabilities there? How are you able to add additional cash value service lines to your practice and market those, right? And so that's kind of the market to profit side of it there. So we've got key things within each one of those that we'll dive into here, we'll chat about here today. But if you can tackle each one of those key areas of your practice, it handles a lot of growth and it handles a lot of problems that you constantly face. So grow, hire, and profit.
Yeah. I haven't run into a clinic owner who's got a lot of patients on their schedule and money in the bank and people to hire that has a lot of problems. They're usually doing pretty good.
They're doing pretty good,
Yeah,
right?
they're doing pretty good. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Uh, if you're cool with it, we can just jump into grow.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'd love to hear maybe like what are some of the things that the audience needs to know about that specifics? And then maybe what's new? Like it's 2025, things are changing, there's AI and stuff. Like what's new in that world that you feel like people need to know?
Yeah, the only constant is change, right? So
Right.
let's dive into the grow part here. So what can you do to grow the number of new patients or number of patients in your practice, right? And so it's very easy to go jumping off in all kinds of directions for the shiny objects that we see in today's world. Oh, maybe I should try Facebook advertising over here. I saw a new AI thing over here. And so we can get distracted and start to chase things which may not necessarily be the best fit for our practice. So what we want to look at first is what the underlying strategy, what are we trying to achieve here? So first off, it's about in today's world, things have changed so much in how we get new patients in the door. And we have more, I would say, cynical patients than ever before because there's so
Mhm,
much
mhm.
more information and false information out there. So you have to kind of cut through the noise, right? And be build that kind of trust on an online presence before they ever even come into your clinic. Um, Back in the day, we just relied a lot on word of mouth and physician referrals. And so that's changed a lot over the years. And in today's world, we have to be very direct to consumer in terms of our marketing. And so, um, yes, you can still build great physician networks and physician relationships. That's still a key part of our practice. And we should spend a lot of time building our word of mouth and our relationships with our patients, both current and past. But how are we showing up in the digital space? How are we showing up in that world in our community so that we can get in front of people that are the low-hanging fruit are the ones that are actually searching for physical therapists near me, but the others are just searching for how can I help my back, or I sprain my knee, what should I do? They maybe have heard of PT, but they don't even know why they would go see a PT. So we got to get in front of those people in terms of the way that they're searching online and trying to get help. So just to break it down real easy is that as a strategy, think about first, like, what can I do to level up my direct to consumer marketing, right? Through that, we want to look at how can we build our online discoverability. So how are we showing up in our community for all those thousands and thousands of searches that are being done each month for help, right? And there's a lot that we can do around that. And then secondly, how, as people interact with us, are we building their confidence with us and improving the conversions through our website, which is one of our main gateways to people
Mhm.
coming into our practice. And so a website conversion is basically someone who visits it and then actually either calls or books an appointment through your website. And then thirdly is how are we leveraging our gold mine in our practice, which is our customer list and
Yeah.
all the patients that we've served so that we can continue into the future with getting more referrals from those people that we service, getting them back for care. Maybe there's opportunities there for keeping servicing them with subscription programs or whatever we may be able to do in our clinic. But that whole retention, referral, and reactivation model for patient marketing. So those are kind of the three core areas underneath that grow that if we focus on, we can make some big improvements in our number of new patients. And the marketing is really our throttle to our business, right? So if we want to grow our business, we need to have a good marketing systems. The larger your practice becomes, the more complex your marketing systems need to be, the more data and tracking you need to have. And so just realize like what got you here isn't necessarily going to get you there,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So from an online discoverability standpoint, the key thing to work on first before you go off jumping into Facebook advertising and all these kind of other things is really where most people go to search. Like 70 something percent of people will actually search for a healthcare provider before they ever go to them. And Google's the primary place for that, right? So we really need to make sure that we're showing up really good for Google searches for physical therapy near me, but also sciatica, back pain, knee pain, all these kind of other searches. How can we rank our practice well there? And there's a lot of different tools that we can use for that. Part of it is your website, but there's also a lot of other things that you can do online. A real simple thing that we can do as practice owners is level up our Google profiles. And that's going to help you show up better in the map section. As people check out your stuff there, they're going to trust you more. They're going to want to call you more. Simple things you can do there is just make sure you have really good pictures on your Google profile. It's very easy to upload. Make sure that you're getting consistent reviews. People are going to check out your reviews. That's going to help you rank somewhat. And then there's opportunities on there to answer common questions, right? So you can put your own questions in there and answer them. Like, what should I expect? Like all these kind of different questions that may be there. The more you have that, the better Google will like you. Also, categories within our profile. Very easy just to add categories. So maybe you have sports medicine in there, you have a sports performance program, or you have a massage program, whatever it may be. You can show up for all kinds of other categories in that. And then if you're doing blogs or you have other things that you're putting out there, you can actually post that up into your Google profile too. So there's a lot that you can do just within your Google profile to help you show up better. But from a patient behavior point of view, it's not just about ranking at the very top of Google. It's about how many spots you have on page one of Google, because
Mm.
you want to be showing up the top, which is actually the ads section. And the ads, you can show up in the top as well as the top of the maps section in searches. Then you want to show up in the maps section, which is your local SEO, and then also in the top 10 section. So theoretically, you can actually have 4 spots on page one of Google if you're doing all these things. And if you're a patient and you type in for physical therapist near me, you see this clinic with they're on 4 times, you're thinking this must be the best place. I'm going to click on them, right? So you have a much higher probability of gaining that segment of people to you, and they're going to come into your practice. And then of course there's other things that you do around online discoverability, whether building your social profile, people will check you out. Making sure that you also update not just your Google profile, but Apple Maps, Apple Business
Yes.
Profile is free too, right? Make sure you have a good Apple profile. And then also Bing. Bing is used in ChatGPT and all these other places. So making sure that you have that updated. So it's not like super complicated for those things. It just takes a little setup and some monitoring, but you can do a lot just with that yourself. But the whole underlying thing is, how are you showing up in your communities for that online discoverability?
Yeah, you want to be consistent, right? Is the word that comes to mind. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word, but a consistently present. There's something about consistency, and it's kind of the one of the mantras that I uh, kind of promote in our when we're talking about marketing in our program. Consistency is the first thing. It's like you want people who are if they have knee pain and they're looking online, whether it's on Facebook, Google, Bing, anywhere, if they spend 3 or 4 days in a row kind of researching what knee pain is, you want to be consistently available for them, right? No matter where they go. And so the people who are consistent naturally start to cultivate trust on the other end, right? Because I can trust these people. They show up regularly. Let me click. Boom. Now we kind of go into the conversion phase of things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're increasing your probability too. It's like how many times at bat do you have with the person? The more times at bat, the more probability you're going to knock it out of the park, right? So you need to just, like you said, be consistent, show up, and that's where having the presence for it is key, right? Now, can you do all that by yourself? Probably not, right? And that's again where you want to start to delegate some of these things, work with an outside agency that can help you show up, right? Knows the technicality and the nuances of stuff. You can be part of the strategy, right? What your needs, specific nuances and needs are of your practice. That's where like your role comes into play. But definitely leverage, people who know what they're doing in that space. So that's your like, getting discovered more online. And then secondly, we got to use our website more as what it really is our digital storefront, right? And it's how people will really make that decision of, am I going to make the go ahead to come into this place or not, right?
Does it smell nice in there, right?
Does it look and smell nice, right? I love it. Um, so website conversions is a big thing, and it's an area that people don't put much attention on, but it can make a huge difference in your practice. So I'll give you an example here. Let's just say you're doing very well from an online discoverability standpoint, and you actually get 1,000 people visiting your website a month, right? Which is not unheard of in a kind of a urban area, right? So let's say 1,000 people come visit your website a month and find you. Out of those 1,000 people, you get about a 2% conversion, which is pretty normal, like an industry standard for the amount of people that convert on your website, meaning that they actually are going to call or book an appointment through your website. So that gives you about 20 new leads a month from your website, right? As a 2% conversion. Now, if your website is better at converting and you're able to go up just 2% in your conversions, that's double the number of new patients, right? So you went from 2% to 4%. Now you've gone from 20 new leads a month to 40 new leads a month. And that's a massive difference in revenue to your practice and people that you can treat. So website conversions is a key area that we look a lot at. And how can we help a clinic do better? Our average conversion is around 8.2%, right? So that's a massive difference compared to what people start, right? Now, what makes that happen? Well, there's a lot that goes in. You got to really be what I call patient-centric. So you're really talking and speaking to the patient's problems, not just how good you are as a clinic, and also condition-centric. So are you speaking to their particular pain or problem, right? So if I have a page that I'm talking about knee pain, well, and I've got knee pain, well, I think of you as more of the expert. And so we want to have a lot more content within our website that's really specific by conditions, because that will actually rank in Google and people will get much more connected with you in that regards. There's also other things that you would, again, rely on someone who has specialty in building websites. For example, like we use AI software, our designers do this, that mimics eye tracking. So it actually helps the designer design the website in a way that maximizes how easy it is for someone to search around the website with their eyes, right? And then we've also got other tools like heat maps, which actually track people's behavior on your website. So you can see, are they scrolling past a certain section, or are they dropping off? Are they clicking on certain things, or they're not? So you can either, change layouts, you can change how people click on different buttons. So if you have those tools, you can get better conversion rates, which means more people into the clinic without even having to increase the number of people visiting your website. So that's the conversion side of it.
Yeah, I like how that works. I'm sure you're familiar with Alex Hormozy. You heard of that guy? Okay. I don't know if you've read his book. I'm sure you have $100 million leads. Yeah, it's back there. But he says all things remain equal. If you increase the leads in your business, you'll make more money. Right? It's like you said, like you double the amount of leads, the lead flow to your practice. You're gonna have more new patients. You're gonna be able to hire more people, make more money, and grow your
Yeah.
business.
But the one caveat that I'm saying with this is because that comes back into the online discoverability part. The conversion part is key too, because that's like your offers, right? Your $100 million offers that he wrote
Yeah,
about.
I was gonna say
Right?
it's kind of a weird piece because it's a lead, but it's also there's a conversion piece there too. So like, yeah,
And there's steps to that conversion, right? So we want to get a person to call us or fill out the form on our website so that our front desk can call them back, right? So that's the conversion that we're looking for there. And are they excited enough where they're really going to commit to go through with it? Now, usually what you'll find is someone coming in from Google is doing their research, looking at reviews or all this kind of stuff, and then they're checking out your website, really digging in there, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to call this place or I'm going to fill out the form to get going. So your interest level is much higher for that type of person. If I'm spending a lot of money on Facebook leads without much of a program there, or I'm just kind of trying to throw people at my website, basically, right? You can generate a tremendous amount of volume of people to it, but we're on Facebook for entertainment and cat videos and all kinds of other stuff. Um, so you'll get people that come there that, this looks good, interesting, but I'm onto something else. I'm back to entertainment, right? So you want to make sure that you're trying to work in the areas that are going to help you get the most conversions for that. And yeah, that's again why we want to put some effort into not just having a pretty website, but one that actually functions really
that
well.
works. Yeah, it's like having your own employee, kind of like that works 24/7. I love it.
Yeah. And then part also of that conversion is the sales process, which is at the front desk.
Uh,
Right. So we got someone delivered as a lead to the front desk, but did they call them back? Did they leave them on hold? Did they not even answer the phone? Are they very good on the phone at being able to inquire? And the person's asking, what insurance do you take? And blah, blah, blah. Right. But we have to have good sales process and training at our front desk to make sure that that lead actually then turns into an eval on our books.
mhm. I'm super interested in hearing about how you help owners hire because that is a big pain point for people right now. And I love recruiting. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So I'm very interested. Help me understand how that works. Like, how do you guys help people hire and recruit therapists?
Sure, absolutely. So let's think about how we normally go about recruiting, right? We're like, okay, we've got a notice from one of our therapists that they're leaving in 2 weeks. Oh no, I've got to go, get
Yeah.
hiring here immediately. I'm going to throw some ads up on Indeed, maybe ZipRecruiter, and I'm going to twiddle my thumbs and wait, right? Or I might post something up on Facebook or to start asking around if anybody wants to come work for me. So I'm behind the eight ball already on that, right? So we want to have more, especially in today's market, have a more proactive stance and how we're constantly hiring and constantly recruiting. A lot of that we can do passively, and the thing that we need to shift our mindset is how are we attracting the right kind of people to come work for us? And the right kind of people that you want to have are the people that are already working somewhere else, but are just not completely satisfied, right?
Mhm,
And they're starting to browse a little bit. And where do we typically start to browse? Well, we start to browse on Google, right?
mhm,
And they start to look at the other clinics around them and just kind of see what they look like. And, do I like the look of the people or the place? And, so you get your browsers out there, and that's probably 90% of the market, right? What you don't want is someone who is just let go and is now on Indeed. And I'm going to go start interviewing, right? Because they were let go for a reason often, you know? So we want to find the right people, but we got to attract them to us. We got to have that nice shiny allure that we start to put in the water, right? And pick and pique their interest to come check us out. So we want to use that approach, that philosophy. So the good news is there is like whatever we're doing with our marketing and we're elevating our brand, we're elevating our position there in the community through our websites, through our social media, through our digital presence, like that naturally starts to attract more people, right? But the next step is to actually take some time and start with building out the careers area of your website. You should have quite a lengthy page here where it's an opportunity to showcase your culture, your programs, speak to that person, what is going to help them want to stay with you and build a career with you, right? So you might have mentorship programs that you have in place, residency programs, whatever you may have. Are you really portraying that within your website? And so we help clinics really build out their careers page for that. And it's a great place to feature all kinds of fun photos and activities, all the things that you do together as a team. That's a great place to showcase that and what it's like to actually work there. And then, of course, all the opportunities that you have. Then, as part of that, you can also have a section that's all about students. So ideally, you want to be having an internship program constantly rolling in your practice where you can, pull from top schools around you. And guess where a lot of their, uh, you know, teachers or professors are going to, or whoever's coordinating those internship programs, they're going to go on your website, right? So if you have a section, yeah, if you have a section dedicated to like how you support the school and how you support the students and what they're going to learn there and have visuals and all that kind of great stuff, you can build an awesome internship program in your practice that you can then leverage with schools around you and have a constant stream of interns there. So it's another opportunity within your careers page. And then the other thing that we've developed is putting a recruitment center within the careers page. So when you go on those browsers we were talking about, right? The people that are currently working and start to browse around, they're going to go on Google. They're going to type in like physical therapy jobs near me or physical therapy clinics. But if you type in anything with jobs or careers in it, Google switches from its normal search to Google for jobs. And so what you'll see up there is everything related to job positions in your area. And what you'll notice is that all the Indeed ads and all the ZipRecruiter ads and the Snag a Job and all these job boards are pulling up into Google for jobs. And if you are paying Indeed for extra ads or boosting, they're actually doing Google ads for you for that. So Indeed's using Google, ZipRecruiter is using Google. Why aren't you using Google to do recruiting? And so that's what we've done for clinics is actually built job posts within their website that then picked up by SEO rather quickly. And that actually outranks Indeed and ZipRecruiter for some of those top spots. So now if I'm typing for physical therapy jobs near me, I'm going to see your job post on your website up there. If I click on it, it pulls all the data in, what it's like to work there and, maybe your benefits, salary ranges, whatever you have. But I click on it, I go into the website. I don't go off to Indeed where it's just text and I'm competing with everybody else. I've got a captive audience and I got an opportunity here to then showcase what it's like to work. So as we've done this, what we've really heard back from our clients is that they're getting much higher quality candidates come through. And it may not be, as big of a volume, but the quality is much higher. And an example is that we have a 10 location clinic we're working with in Massachusetts, and they were kind of our test client. In 2 months that we ran this program with them, they were able to hire, with all their other efforts too, 17 total staff. So office managers, PTs, PTAs, you name it. 9 of those came from the Google process itself, right? So that just shows you, like, if you're really approaching this from a different angle and realizing that you now have to market to get top talent, you're the ones that do that are going to be commanding more of the available therapists in the market, right? And it's a fight for talent these days.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned those browsers, because they're all there. You know what I mean? And it's common, and I'm guilty of it too, for us to get into that scarcity mindset when it comes to recruiting. There's only so many therapists. I live in South Mississippi. There's only like 5 of us here, right? But and that's true, but what you don't account for is the how often there's these transitions or these browsers who are looking for something new. Maybe they're transitioning, they're moving across town, and that happens a lot more often than you think. I just had a conversation with a PT candidate this past week, and she's like, "Hey, we've been connected for 2 years," and she's like, "I'm actually going to be moving to like right next to one of your locations, and I'm going to be looking for a new leadership position." And I'm like, "Heck yeah! Like that's amazing." So I love how that you made that distinction. That the people who are in that transition and browsing and having a good website like that is a really powerful tool.
What you also have capabilities is that you can use Google Ads, and Google Ads, you can actually target wherever you want. So what's really good with that is you can actually target other towns or cities. You can target universities to show up for physical therapy jobs. So you have physical therapy, or like jobs type campaigns, whether it's going to be a PT job or office manager or whatever you need. You can use Google Ads for that, and so that's a nice thing. And if you're if you're like a more rural clinic, let's say, we have some clients up in Alaska, like I know Nathan's been up in Alaska too, but right. So there's not many PT schools in Alaska. So you've got to go down in the downtown states and pull from there, but you can use Google Ads to do that. So wouldn't it be awesome if you're in Alaska and you're going to have a Google ad campaign for PTs in Phoenix when it's murderously hot in July, and what you want to yeah, you'll get some clicks to your careers page. You can show that. What I would suggest for people in rural areas is sell also the not just the benefits of what it's like to work for you, but you're going to have would put some time in also an additional page of what it's like to live there. So you could sell the outdoor lifestyle, right? And you're going to find people who want to have that outdoor lifestyle. That's what's going to attract them to come move where you are. So that's just another suggestion there.
Real quick, profits. This is I like making money, and I like I'm sure people that are listening to this want to make money too. How do we play offense and attract higher payers or more higher value customers into the practice?
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, this is where marketing comes into play. If you elevate your brand, if you elevate your position in the market, you're going to attract people who have more disposable income, right? You're going to attack people who are more into health and wellness.
Mm,
So that will allow you to attract people with higher paying insurances, as well as people that are willing to pay out of network, or you will go see that cancer doctor across the country if you have that specific cancer and you know that they're the experts in that particular thing. People do that all the time. So you have to position yourself as the go-to expert in your niche, um, and really brand yourself around that and kind of elevate your marketing that way. Some simple things you can do too is actually call out your best insurances on your website. The
yes.
logos up there. Like if take your top three best reimbursing, insurances and throw that right up on your website. You'll be surprised at
Love
how
it.
many people start to come towards you with just those. The other part of it is you should be in today's world. I think the direction of our profession is really going to be in like a hybrid insurance model. So we'll have core insurance. Uh, will then start to add on cash services. And we just see
Mhm.
this more and more. And I think it's really the direction we need to go. It gives us more command, and there's a lot of people willing to pay out of pocket for good service, right? And good help. So you should be thinking about how can I add different lines of service into my practice, right? Whether that's, you know, new fit or laser, or sports performance program, or anything you can kind of make a little bit of a subscription model. I think
Shockwave
that's
is a
going to
big one too.
Shockwave. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could be adding into your practice that are cash value add services, but you have to market them. But what's cool about that is it actually gives you a position in your market that allows you to be different. And so you can leverage that in your marketing, again, to attract people who are willing to pay cash out of pocket. And we see some really, really cool, especially like sports performance clinics that have that edgy, really cutting edge look. They're filling they're filling their practice really well, right? So we got to look for opportunities like that. But that's how we leverage marketing to profit.
A lot of super cool things happening. For those that are listening, Neil is the guy. I mean, he's been there, done that. He's been a successful practice owner. He's built a huge online company. Uh, he know he's top notch in what he does. So, Neil, if they want to get in touch with you, like if they want to hear more about what you do or how you might be able to help them, how do they do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So first off, you can just go to practicepromotions.net. We've got tons of resources on there for you to get great ideas about how to market your practice. So check that out. If you want to get our Market to Grow book with the whole strategy that we've been talking about here today, just go to market2grow.net, and it's the numeral 2. So it's market number 2 grow.net. And you can just get our free book shipped to you, along with we've got a great marketing calendar in there and some other cool marketing stuff in that kit. So that's a great opportunity for practice owners to understand this strategy and how they can leverage it in their business.
If you're still listening, go to the show notes. I'll drop that in the show notes as well. You guys can check that out. Neil, man, I really appreciate the time, dude. Let's circle back and maybe Q4, and you can fill us in on what's new then.
You got it. Thanks,
All right,
Adam.
brother. Be good.